This week in the conversation, I have the honor to welcome childhood friend, filmmaker, Rose Coriolan. We talk at length about what she loves to do best, which is film. And we have been wanting to have that conversation for the longest now. She's been so busy. But last week, I had a chance to really catch her. And she agreed to sit down and have that conversation with me. But before we get into the conversation, I just want to remind everyone that it's important to subscribe to these YouTube channels. And if you do, don't forget to click the notification bell so that way every time a video is posted, it'll go directly into your portable. So let's get started. Again, my name is Ardain Isma, and I'm here with a very important personality, a friend, a childhood friend. I'm talking about filmmaker Rose Coriolan. She's been a friend ever since I can remember. To begin with, Rose, welcome to the conversation.
Oh, thank you for having me, Ardain. I mean, Dr. Ardain. You know, with the friendship, it's really difficult to put the doctor in front of it, but
you don't have to
try
say
to
that.
keep it civilized.
So
Good
before we
afternoon,
officially get started, my friend, could you please tell the readers of CSMS Magazine who is Rose Coriolan?
Who is Rose Coriolan? That's a question I don't like to answer, but for you, I'll try my best to do it. Born in Haiti, and then I come over like I was around 17, 18 years old, finishing high school in this country, and then do my universities. But filmmaker is always used to be a great part of my life because I was raised in an environment where most of the people, they were doing montage, they were doing films. We're talking about one of the biggest person in the Haitian cinema, which is Baldwin, which is a family member. So I grew up with the environment where we saw in montage all the time. But you know, the Haitian parents, most of the time, they love art, but you have to do it as a secondary major. So I went to school and studied management. And after that, I decided to go back to school to do film because that was the love of my life. And I'm enjoying it since.
Beautiful. And me personally, I cannot picture my younger years in the unforgiving street of Miami without thinking of you. You were very strong. We've always been strong friends ever since, right?
Well, I mean, it was a great time. It was a little bit difficult because at that time, the Haitian community wasn't what it is today. And I could say that because also I run a radio station, which is 1580 AM and 99.5 FM, which I saw the community develop day by day. It wasn't the same time at all. Now we have different type of people in the community. We go up a little bit. We still have going up to do, but it is a little bit more acceptable now because the time we were going up, we had a lot of issues about Haitian name, quote unquote.
I know exactly. I remember, and I think we can safely say now we graduated. Probably. So filmmaking is something that I know you've always wanted to do. I remember when I published my first novel, Alicia, we had a little project together, right?
It's still pending. Let's put it that way.
Let's put it that way.
We're still working on it. It's just that these days it's a crazy day because you know you're getting older.
Yeah.
It's not the same. We don't have the same approach. You don't analyze things the same way. And then
True.
there's a lot of nonprofit I'm participating on,
True.
which is the board. I'm a board trustee of Miami Museum. I also participate as a chairperson, assistant for the MJD, which is a nutrition setup. We also have Build a Better Tomorrow, where we give food every third Thursday of the month. So there's a lot of other avenues I'm looking at, but Alicia is still in my heart, you know.
Still in your heart. Then that comes to a question. I remember we talked about the possibility of taking the book into a screenplay. And
it's a fascinating book. That's what I enjoy it so much. And every time I'm reading it, and I saw, because the way you write, it's like you visualize. When I'm reading you, I visualize everything that you're saying. I don't know, it's because I know you so well.
It could be.
That's what I do that. But for me, I love the way you write your novel. I'm enjoying it so much.
Okay, thank you so much for this wonderful compliment. Now, I had in a conversation before a few months ago, Gabrielle Constant, who's a screenwriter, who's written a story, a romantic comedy, and then I had two filmmakers out of LA who picked up the story and translated it into a movie. Now, I remember back in the day when you and I were talking about Alicia. So, and we were talking about the turning the story into a screenplay.
Okay.
Now, I don't know how to do that. And you told me it's not entirely different when you're sitting down and write a story, but you have to be a screenplayer, you have to visualize things in terms of a movie. So let me ask you a question. In your work as a filmmaker, do you think that putting a story into a screenplay is harder than writing the story itself?
No, not really, because you already have the concept in front of you. And then if you have the concept in front of you, it's easier for you to create the path, the way you want to develop the concept, versus you writing the whole thing.
Right.
First, you have to have the imagination to start writing the whole thing.
Right.
Okay. And then these days you see even in Hollywood, when they're giving the award, anyone Oscar, Emmys Award, anyone they are giving, they start giving it to people who's doing adaptations.
Right.
It's because these people take a story from a book, they sit down, they put it in screenplay, and then they do the montage, they put it together. It's a little bit easier, but the only thing is that sometimes you have to fight with the author. That's where the problem comes from, because there's a part as a director or as a producer, you're looking more for a setup that will be sellable to the market versus only take the books and then run with the book. There's a lot of things you will not go into put on a film, and then that you have on the book. But that's why it's so difficult sometimes to do. But once you start doing it, you start doing the montage and everything else. Most of the writers, they go in compliance with the director, and then especially if they're friends, so they meet halfway to get it done.
Right.
But it for me it's much easier than doing an adaptation than doing than to write, because I don't write stories, but I can write a script. That's two different things.
Yeah. So I understand exactly what you're talking about. But my question is, when you have the play done, set, and there comes the bigger hurdle is to try to put together a team and also to hire the best qualified actors for the play. Now, I know you and I talked about this already. The process of picking up actors is also very tedious.
It is. It is. It's not easy at all. First, you have to try to see who has names.
Okay.
I can sell the movie. Okay. If you're doing a movie to put it on the market, or a movie to get awards, so you have to think about who do you know that can put your movie to the next level. And then, as you can see, if we want to put a quote unquote right here, Jessica Jennings, that's what he does. She does very well with film when she's an actress. She's a director, she's a writer, but she's also an actress. And then if you're doing a movie, you have the opportunity to get her on your casting. That's a big plus.
Okay.
And then plus anybody else that is popular on the area, because when I say Jessica, it's because it doesn't matter. I saw her play in Creole, I saw it in French, I saw it in English. She does a good job as an actor to do anything that the director needs to do, and then to sell the story.
Okay.
That's one of the things. Casting is number one on a setup when you're doing it.
Okay.
Because if you don't have a good, unless if you want to go with people that are brand new and in the business, but you have to take the time to teach them.
Correct.
And sometimes if you don't get, you need a casting director also. That's what I was going to ask you. This is what we don't do sometimes in the Haitian community. That's why sometimes we do movies and then the story might be good, but the play doesn't come out quite well. Okay. Yeah, that's the reason why that you have to make sure your casting is on point, and then for you to move on to the next setup.
To the next. One thing I also know that stories from a Haitian perspective or from a Caribbean perspective are always well received by European or North American audiences. Right?
The reason I'm laughing is because each of them, and that's what sometimes if you find a producer or a director,
right,
each of them has their own rules.
Correct.
And then you have to know the rules, how to follow their rules. For example, if you're setting up something for Oscar,
right,
okay, it's not going to be the same if you go ahead and do it for Emmys, or if you go ahead and do it for another award set up.
Really.
But if you're lucky enough, sometimes you see one movie and every award they get something. It's because they're doing it universal.
Let me ask a question here, Rose, because this is something that you say I've never heard that before. Could you please clarify that for our audience? The difference between producing a movie for an Oscar or for another types of award. So how does it?
You just have to read the rules. You have to read the rules, because when they tell you, and then another thing I advise people is go ahead and watch the one that are winners. Okay. So you'll be able to see the way they did the montage, the setup, and everything else, and then for you to work the right way. And keep in mind, movies is just they're repeating themselves, the same story, repeating themselves in a way as far as when you set it up, the movie. Okay. Because you sit down, you study different scene, and then you take the scene and you tell your story inside that scene. That's nothing new. Okay. But you got to sit down and do your research. Find out what are they looking for. Find out the time of setup. Find out the scene that will turn them on. Okay. And then you capture that scene, and then you set it up well. for them to be able to, for it to become a reference, for them to be able to look at it and say, oh, I saw that before on certain such movie, but that director did a very good job by putting it together, change the setup, change the angle, change a little bit of this, a little bit of that. You have to have reference.
How do you
Go ahead.
The movie industry during this pandemic?
That was a killer for them. I mean, they're still trying to get back together. They're getting there.
Right.
They're getting there. And like example for me is after a year and a half,
right,
I finally go back to the theater.
Okay.
But they're so smart. They do it different ways. They start endorsing what you call streaming.
Okay.
And then there's a lot of streaming platform that start, they start opening up. You have to be a member to watch the movie. Okay. And then with that, that gave them opportunity to make money. Okay. While the theater were closed. And you have, like I always tell people, if you have a film that come out and then the film did good in China, right? You are in the, I mean, you know that you are in the game. Because this is one of the places. Right. Yes. The market is sitting with these big countries. Okay. And you got China, you got, of course, you got Europe, and then you got the European Union. I said more than one. They put them together in the movie world sometimes. Okay. And because you have Cannes Festival. Right. And then you have USA, and then sometimes a movie is doing better outside of USA than inside the USA. So that's what you got to you have to know all the markets and then to look at it and see how to move on with that.
My question, I'm looking at the clock, but I have a question, a very important question. We know that Raoul Peck is renowned as one of our best filmmakers. Now, do you see him that way? As one of your preferred?
Yes. Of course, yes. It would be an understatement if I say no, because this is a guy that I enjoy, that I love. But he has a lot of opportunity that a lot of people in the field, they don't have. What I mean by that, he has an opportunity to live in Haiti and then travel to many countries and have an opportunity to get to France. And then from that, being the director of one of the top prestigious film in the south of France. So he has all these opportunities. So that's the reason why it's always easier for him to capture a certain story that will make a big buzz, and then that will give him either be a part of an Oscar platform or be a part of any big platform there is. You have to know people. You have to know not only the producers, you have to know the sound people. Right. You have to know your editing people. And then the best of the best is the marketing people who can put that outside in the market and then to move your setup for. He is lucky enough to be having that entourage. That's why he's doing so well. And that's why whoever is around him, they are doing well too. Okay. I mean, but you have to be good on what you do too also.
Now, every time in the conversation, at some point, we start talking about some strategic matters like literature or film. And we switch to something a little bit cozy. And I know you and we love griot. But before we get to griot, okay, now.
A little bit, not that much now these days, you know, when you're getting old and then there's certain things. You can't do the same way you used to be when we.
Me too. Maggie has put me on a strict diet to make sure she got me under control. Okay. Now, besides the cuisine, the food, now, could you please tell me? We were talking about literature also. Who is your favorite author? It doesn't have to be a Haitian or American.
No, I know, but I mean, I am so sorry. It is, of course, I love writing I said that at the beginning of the interview. I love reading your books because the visual that there is in the book is really make me attractive to them. Idris Dantika, I cannot leave her out.
Okay.
Because I mean, I love the way she wrote her books.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy them when I'm reading them.
Okay.
And then there's one of the book called Haiti Noir,
Mm-hmm.
where she has different writers
Okay.
telling stories inside that book. I enjoy it a lot.
That's
As far as other authors,
mm-hmm.
I'm a reader that goes with what's going on around me.
Okay.
For example, you will see me a book when Trump was
Okay.
was president. You will see me many of the books that came out,
Okay.
stories and everything. You will see me with that book. When Clinton, Hillary, Obama, you see me with these type of stories because I enjoy the political world. I enjoy a lot of stories, a lot of information about it.
Right.
I'm always following it.
Okay.
So anytime someone writes a good book, so you will see me sitting with that book.
Okay.
And then another one, that's my last one, I enjoy a lot is James Baldwin.
Okay.
And I mean, he wrote more than 20 books, and then his styles, the way that he was the book. And remember Raoul Peck as a documentary that he searched the guy from left to right and did a nice documentary about him.
So it was, my last question, if there's one lesson you want to give to our Haitian Americans out there, or young Haitian period, who would want to embark upon or follow your path into filmmaking, what lesson would you give them?
That's the toughest question from all of them, because the other one I know and everything else. Now I have to put whatever is going on in the future. If they want to follow it, they have to learn how to be precise. Okay. And they have to learn how to learn what they're going to
produce.
Learn things about the movies. Mm-hmm. Not just thinking about you can come over and recreating a scene. Because they're already there. They're already in the book.
Right.
But take that scene, make it perfect.
So with that, I'm just going to say it's been such a pleasure to have in the conversation my old friend, filmmaker Rose Coriolan.
Thank you for having me. And then thank you very much for everything. Say hi to the family.